All
You're
right.
alive. Yes, you are.
Yes. Super, super duper excited today, guys. We have Dr. Chiagozi with us about STR arbitrage. Yes, our
Excited.
popular demand. Super, super excited about that. So, yeah, let's see. Let's make sure that everyone's jumping on. Everyone, please, please, please ask your questions in the comments. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in. I know it's late. You've got the kiddos. I've got some that I got to put to bed in a bit myself. So, Dr. Chiagozi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a pediatric anesthesiologist based in Syracuse, New York. I got started in real estate about maybe about 5.5 years ago now, with just, buying property, rehabbing, the whole birthing, buy, rehab, rent, refinance. But this whole time, arbitrage was kind of on the radar, but I was just really scared. And then finally last year and then again this year, I kind of took the leap. So
Awesome. So tell us, what is arbitrage? Because we have some people here who are new. For the people sitting in the back, what is arbitrage?
So I think of it as just basic commerce, okay, where you buy low and sell high. It's the same thing that happens, in a convenience store where they go to Costco or somewhere and buy things in bulk at a lower price, and then he can sell it to you in tiny pieces at a higher price. So basically what we do in our business is we lease properties from landlords in bulk, like for a year or 2 or 3 years, and then we sell it, if you may, on the short-term rental market for a day, 2 days, 3 days. And because we can sell them at, and I'm saying sell, but basically offer the place up as a short-term rental for smaller units of time, we're able to charge more also for providing a furnished space to travelers in need of a safe space for their stay. So basically we end up profiting from the spread, being that the short-term rental revenue is usually higher than the long-term rental rent.
So definitely some things to take into consideration as you're entering and approaching a landlord, looking at the property and trying to assess whether or not it's going to be a viable option. You want to really understand what that monthly rent is going to be and negotiate that. You want it to be fair market value, right? So that you then turn around and
fair market value, or even less. If you can actually find a unit where you can negotiate an even lower rent, and it's even better. That makes your risk profile even more favorable.
That's awesome. And so that's really exciting to me because I love the way you explained it. I haven't heard it explained that way in a lot of scenarios. So that's really amazing. I like the analogy of basic commerce, So yeah, you broke it down. Thank you. So you said you had it on your radar. What was it that gave you the pivot shift from being a BRRRR fix and flipper and transitioning into STR arbitrage? What was your catalyst?
Yeah, so I heard about it, I think 2016, but at the time we were in Rochester, and the thought was, well, I don't know if it's going to work here. Like, this is not like a travel place. What if I get stuck with the lease? And at the time, I didn't think I even had enough of a bandwidth to tolerate risk if that did happen. So I sat on it for a while, but then last year, after I got pulled from work during my pregnancy, it hit me. I had two things hit me. The first thing was that as a professional woman, as a professional in general, like doctors, high earners, in whatever capacity they are, professionals need something that cash flows not as a luxury, but as a necessity. So while a lot of people talk a lot about generational wealth, and which is great, right? Professional women, and I'll be very specific, need something that cash flows and cash flows today. Okay, because the way I got pulled from work, it was literally like OB visit in the afternoon, and the other doctor walks in and says, we'll probably be in the OR on Wednesday. And I'm like, no, I'm on call on Thursday. And he's like, no, you're not. So just like that, without any like crazy warning or anything, what would have been like my source of income if I were like a per diem or shift-based type, person, or like a catch and kill type person, basically, who, if you didn't do it like cases, then you weren't paid, for example, that would have been the end of my income for that period of time. Now, thankfully, in my case, I was salaried. We had short-term disability, then long-term disability, then and my husband works too. Plus, I had real estate as well. So I had all these cushions, but it really got me thinking that I had to find a model, also considering that I coach. I was like, I need to find something that people can actually do that helps them in a situation like this, where if they had something on the side that actually gave them meaningful income. The key there is meaningful. They could be okay at a time like this. But then what actually then tipped me over was I realized the thing I had been afraid of was signing a lease. I was like, wait, hold up. You're okay taking on mortgages with your BRRRR strategy, right? And you're buying and refinancing. Each refinance is a mortgage. It's a loan. Yes, you cash flow, but it's still a loan. Okay. So I said, you're okay taking on additional debt and you're afraid of signing a lease? Like it hit me, when it hit me then I was like, wait, duh, like what's the worst that'll happen? You break the lease. And I'm not saying you go into arbitrage planning to break the lease. That's not what I'm saying, because it is a lease that you sign. It is a promise that you're making. Right. But you can't do that with a mortgage. No. Otherwise it's called foreclosure.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So you break the lease, and worst case scenario, you have to pay an extra month and then it's terminated, and whatever the stipulations were, you know, maybe it's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, but you're pretty much free and clear. But with a foreclosure, talk about something sticking to you. That would stick, right?
That would stick.
You're absolutely right.
That was what pushed me, what tipped me over.
So my takeaway from this was an extra stream of income is not a luxury, but a necessity, especially for working busy professional women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, men will argue that them too, but yeah, of course. But in my mind at the time, okay.
Yeah, Alex is watching right now. Alex, you know, yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely. And you know what? A lot of us, believe it or not, in healthcare, we actually endured some furlough situations as well. In healthcare, who would have thought that in healthcare you would get furloughed? And it was bizarre. And I saw friends, you know, send goodbyes on email, you know, projects we were working on. This is my last day. It's like, what is happening right now?
I'm literally having goosebumps as I'm talking now, because as of last year, we had furloughs. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just before I came on this call, one of my colleagues, a nurse, is getting pulled because she hasn't taken the shot. Now she has her reasons. We can argue about the legitimacy of the whole vaccine mandate and all that in New York and whatnot. But the fact is that for a decision that she has made, she's not going to have a job in a couple of days. Wow. And I say to myself, if you didn't think an extra stream of income was a priority, you better wake up.
You better wake up. Indeed.
Better wake up.
Oh my goodness.
You better wake up.
So tell me a little bit about your sourcing strategies. Yeah. Who are you reaching out to? Is it landlords? Is it apartments? Tell me about it.
So I usually tell, you know, people that are getting started to start out with individual landlords because they're generally easier to get a yes from. Mm-hmm. Apartment complexes are usually more of like they have something in stone and you can either say yes or no. But for the sake of volume, I reach out to apartment complexes. Like all our units right now are from apartment complexes, and it's probably just a factor of the market. When I did the very first arbitrage unit that I found ever was up here in Syracuse, and it was from an individual landlord, because we have more smaller landlords up here than you have like the big apartment complexes. But yeah, so depending on really who you want to work with, I'll say for those who are just starting out, it's generally easier with the individual landlords, but depending on your market, you may have more larger apartments than smaller landlords.
Excellent. And so when you say you're taking down multiple, what is the largest number of units you've taken down in one around one transaction?
6. Yeah.
That's significant. Yeah. So that's going to require some logistics, right?
Yeah. It's called hiring. But yeah, I found these designers. So actually I reached out to an apartment complex, and they were open to the idea of arbitrage, and basically asked me, how many do you want? And that was the first time I had anybody ask me that. And I was like, wait, what? I get to pick? And I was like, can I get 6? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I take 6. And now I had just been in conversation with some designers about my prior units that I had gotten. I was like, listen, guys, ignore those ones. Those ones I'm good right now. I'm getting 6. That's what you'll be working on. And they basically came in and they furnished the place top to bottom, and did not show me the units until they were completely done, and I was completely floored.
And that's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Yeah. So 6 units. Are these 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom? What is your standard asset?
So I have my the first two I picked up, I wasn't sure which way I was going to go. So I took 1 2-bedroom and I took 1 1-bedroom. And then when we got 6, I asked for 6 1-bedrooms. And I think since then, the last 2 we've picked up have been were 1-bedrooms. So basically I have 9 1-bedrooms and 1 2-bedroom.
Awesome. And so compared to the 2 bedroom one that you have, how are the 1 bedrooms performing?
That's really how you get into the whole like customer avatar thing. Like you have a very different type of guests for the 1-bedrooms. The 1-bedrooms, I think actually in this earlier were really going like hotcakes. Honestly, they were getting snatched up by the work travelers.
Yeah.
So I had, people like a manager who her company, booked the space for, took 1. I had a guy who was in town for like a month and change. He was in 1. I had a guy stay for like 3 months in one of the units, barely heard from him, also in town for work. But the 2-bedroom tends to be picked up more by people like families, not even families like parents and kids, but more like family groups. So you see like maybe like 3, 4, 5 sisters or something, traveling to say Dallas for a few days. Those are kind of people that I see more in the 2-bedroom properties.
So did you say Dallas? Because I thought
Dallas.
I know you're in Syracuse. So where are these properties located? This is interesting.
They're all in Dallas.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So why the Dallas market?
I looked at Syracuse and I felt there wasn't enough bringing people to Syracuse. I know you can do arbitrage, I mean, almost anywhere because there is like the travel, healthcare, traffic. But I also saw that in Syracuse, the differential wasn't that much compared to like when you saw how much you actually rented for versus how much you could get on the short-term market. It wasn't that big of a gap. So I tried to find somewhere that actually had it. And then it so happened that my sister moved down to Dallas and I was like, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take Dallas. That basically did it for me.
So you did your research and you saw that Dallas, there was more meat on the bone in Dallas.
There was more meat on the bone. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. That's fantastic. So let me tell you this. I know you have a couple of things coming up soon, and this is a space that you're passionate about. And I got to tell you, I am passionate about it also because this is a big pivot shift that we did during, COVID and all of the things. And as we are looking to continue to expand our portfolio, minimalistically, elegantly expand our portfolio, we're not finding, the big and the best deals that we would want, And so wanting to have more meat on the bone, I had to look around. I was very, arbitrage kind of naive and not really thinking that that was a good play initially. But I got to tell you, we pivot shifted into arbitrage, and it's something that I was telling some of my clients, I don't want you to try it. Let me try it first. But now I'm like, yes. yes, because it's a really powerful cash flow move.
Yeah.
Powerful cash flow move, period.
Yeah. It's a great move if you've ever said to yourself, I don't have my next down payment yet, but I want to stay in motion.
Yeah.
Because when you think about buying a place, a short-term rental, right? For what you actually invest, you want it to cash flow very well, okay? But when you buy, to buy, you have to put down your down payment, your closing costs. And now if anything happens to that property, it's also on you, which is fine. If your goal is like long-term investing, that's fine. But then you have to furnish. So you take all of that plus all the time it takes to actually close. By like 60, 90 days, you've finally gotten that first one up and running. For us, by the 90-day mark, we had 10 up and running. So for me, it was by the time we signed that 10th lease, I was like, listen, I need to tell people about this thing. Like, because arbitrage is not new. It's just that in our circles, for some reason, like people weren't really talking about it. Like everybody was so focused on the buying because of the, the tax benefits and all those things. But I'm like, you need to at least know of the model so that you have it in your back pocket. You can choose not to arbitrage. That's okay. Maybe it's not even okay, but you can choose what you want to choose, right? But if it's that you didn't know about it, then well, now you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know you're a really big educator in the space, and it is so appreciated the information and the value that you're putting out there, because what it does is I really love the way you stated it when you said generational wealth. That's a beautiful thing, all of the things are, but what about right now? I'm trying to, not go into a critical situation when I'm furloughed. What about right now? And
Right,
so
yeah.
that's absolutely huge. So why arbitrage? I know we talked a little bit about some of the benefits. Could you tell us a little bit more why arbitrage? And I want to jump into some of the tools that you use to remote host.
Yeah. So yeah, I think my primary reason for arbitrage is just it's a faster path to cash flow in my books. Like if you can find out, so the one kind of initial hump to overcome is finding that landlord that says yes. But so the first time I did it in October, I think I found a landlord within 2 weeks of searching online. But this time around, it took a little longer, to 4 weeks. Okay. So by the 4th week, after actually hunting, I then had four units that I could take on. Now I was a little, let's not bite off too much. So I took just 2. But it's unlike actually buying where you have to wait for closing and all. This one, once you get the willing landlord, you literally could be in a place, you really can be there by the next few days, except Amazon shipping time will probably be why you want to push it out for 2 weeks. And 2 weeks, you get the place, you get all your items in. Another maybe a few days, depending on your setup speed, you can be up and running in, say, 3 weeks. So that's one. The second thing is, depending on where or what kind of property you're arbitraging, you may even skip the whole maintenance piece, right? Like if you're working with an individual landlord, your selling point may be I'll handle maintenance. But if you're working with a huge apartment complex, they will be the maintenance. Like if anything happens in the unit, you call building maintenance, and now even that is taken off your plate.
I love that because we know that maintenance and upkeep, especially from a long-term rental perspective, you do have a lot of responsibility, as well. So a question I get asked a lot is about getting that first landlord to say yes. What are some strategies? Do you have a pointer or two you can share with those who are watching to get the landlord to say yes?
First of all, it's knowing who you're dealing with and knowing, okay, so this is marketing at its finest, okay? I have a question that says, that says, everyone is tuning into the channel, what's in it for me? WIIFM, okay? So if you're talking to someone, they're asking, okay, how do I actually benefit from this proposition? So you, as the arbitrage wannabe, should I say, and not in a derogatory sense, but who actually wants to arbitrage, need to know what you're bringing to the landlord. Number one, you're bringing a stable tenant. You are someone that will be generating income from their property, which means that your rent is sort of guaranteed, because for you to stay in business, you kind of have to pay them, right? So your interests are very much aligned. For you to stay in business, their property has to be well kept. Otherwise, you get bad reviews and you wouldn't have business. So your interests are aligned. They'll ask you things about okay, so what if the tenant falls or the guest falls? Who's responsible? Well, you tell them, you carry insurance, just like, someone that's doing business. It's as long as you understand the value that you bring as the arbitrage investor, then it gets easier to kind of pitch to landlords from a place of I am the price. Okay, you actually want me. Let me show you how.
I love that approach, because the spirit of the question is a little bit more, and when I hear it, and it's a little bit saddening because it's coming from more of a begging. How do I get them to? And you're right. You, as the arbitrager, as the operator, is going to be the absolute best tenant ever, because you need to stay in business. Yeah. And they need their properties to be well kept, and so on and so forth. So absolutely. Let me just see. Okay, we have a couple questions, but first, wanted to say hello, Deanna. Hello. Alex, hey there. So excited that you're here. Okay, someone is asking, has it started yet? I cannot log on. Christian, please help Jen to log on. It has started. Yes. And we are here and we're super, super excited. Let's see who else is here. Hang on. Hi, Jenna. Hi, Annabelle. Sabitha, Jesse Vasquez. I see you. And Alex, I got you a little bit earlier. Okay, awesome. And we have a couple of questions. I wanted to pause real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So we can ask a couple of questions. So Valim, hey there, Valim. What is the amount of rent you pay for the 1-bedroom versus the 2-bedroom?
Okay, so they're in different buildings, so they're very different, but to actually give you actual numbers, the 1-bedrooms that we have, I would say average 1,200, a little above 1,200. The 2-bedroom is about 1,695.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There you go, Valee, 1,200 or 1,695. Next question, Annabelle. Usually in apartment buildings, what they have is a property manager. Is that who you ask?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So depending on who the property manager is, you may have to, like I said, it's easier when you can actually talk with the owner of the property. When you talk with the managers, it adds a whole layer of
bureaucracy.
Exactly.
Red tape.
Yeah. So if that person doesn't like you, they could just say no, whatever. But like, because for them, they're thinking, how would this person be a headache in my life? Okay. They don't necessarily have it on their necks to keep the place occupied. So, I mean, when you can, you want to try to get to the owner, but if an apartment complex and it's the manager, basically just ask them, and if they say no, well, you're basically moving on, honestly.
So it's not even worth it to explore. And you're absolutely right, because especially the bigger ones, they may have their rules, requirements, and that's it. They just follow it. And I've heard of occupancy and looking at that. I haven't seen that make too much of an impact in terms of making a dent on it. So if they have all these empty units, is there a metric that the property manager has to meet in order to get them filled up? Are they motivated that way? I don't know.
Now, some just from my experience with owning rentals myself and having reached out to like property managers for multifamily complexes, some of them are incentivized after they hit a certain occupancy level. You really wouldn't know that. But we do have one building that always makes me laugh when I think of it, that on their public like their apartments.com listing, they say like, we don't do corporate leases or whatever, like basically saying all you Airbnb folks don't come, right? But then we actually went there and spoke with them and turned out that they did, but guess what? They had an empty building. So when it when it really bites them, even the ones that say no may still be a yes after. Yeah.
That is so interesting. I will tell you something that we encountered that's really interesting in the city of Atlanta. There's a building that they don't do corporate leases or Airbnb unless you're willing to pay a fee. And turns out that fee is about 30% of your gross. And so they take their cut off of the top. And once they do that, then you can, you can try to cash flow. And that's 30% is a lot.
That's huge.
That's huge. I think that's huge.
That's huge. Now, I mean, if before I would say yes to something like that, there better be nothing else that I can find on my own. I mean, I'll say just, if you're patient enough, you may find something better. But I think what that actually says is that they're catching on. Like apartment complexes are catching on, and they know that you're making money. But personally, whenever I see those extra things like 30%, 10%, I'm like, I don't want to work for you because I'm still gonna have to manage. It's not like they'll manage for me. Like for 30%, you can answer my listings. You can do, like, if you do all of that, then sure, have at it. But if they won't do that and then still come back and ask me for rent,
Yeah, I would have to, my first reaction was absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I would have to look at it with like two sets of glasses on, because ultimately, I hear you when you say, the property manager is thinking to themselves, well, how is it that you're going to be a headache to me?
Mhm.
And that's headache money, right? 30% is headache money. It's okay, just to cover themselves in case,
Mhm.
all of the things occur, and they want to make sure that they're drawing some kind of benefit out of it.
I mean, if after 30% the numbers still make sense, then it must be a really hard place, in which case, sure.
Exactly. And that's why I say I would have to look at it with
Yeah.
two sets of glasses, but I haven't seen any scenario where that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
literally, I'm coming in under at this point.
Yeah.
For the
Because
level, the
because
lip.
one thing you must keep in mind is that the arbitrage investor has to make more than the buying investor. Because the buying
Absolutely.
investor is paying just a mortgage. The
Hmm.
arbitrage investor is paying the landlord's mortgage plus the landlord's free money. So
Hmm.
you really have to be up here. So when you now take 30%, you've basically cut into what that profit would have been for the most part.
Right.
And now you're left with crumbs. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And so you extrapolate that over time. Also, the time equity, you put that into it also. So even if you're making an extra $300-400 a month, think about that. You can do that long-term renting
Yeah,
without
right.
at that point it's like no.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that would be a redo. So what are your favorite tools that you use to help you in terms of your remote hosting?
Number one will be my Ring doorbell. You know, nice little piece of technology right there. But I can tell you how many questions the Ring doorbell helps you answer. Just this afternoon, we had a last minute booking, and my cleaners, my housekeepers, they saw it was they hadn't seen a booking there, so they kind of pushed that unit as the last one to clean. Then we got a booking. So I basically went on the doorbell and I could see if they had gotten in or not. I saw the lady walk in. So I basically told the guest, hey, they're in there cleaning. They'll be done in like hour and a half. And then he waited and stayed. So that's the biggest thing. And then electronic locks. Those
Yeah, yeah,
simple
and I
things. Yeah.
love that you're keeping it streamlined because there's so much out there, right? There's so many technology pieces. And you and I, we had a conversation about coaching programs. We're big into getting ourselves educated.
Mm-hmm.
And you said they sell some technology, they just sell on complexity, right? I think keep it simple. You just gave us two things, Ring doorbell and remote lock.
Yeah.
Have at it. You
Yeah.
have a whole business right there. Everything else is, extra fluff. And there's a lot
Nice.
of great things out there. They're
Yeah.
nice to have, but definitely these are the basics. So I
Yeah.
love that. What about your team? What does your team look like?
So right now I hired an assistant after the first two because my sister was traveling around and I didn't want to burden her with my needs. So, but I also knew I wanted to scale. So I just hired someone that will help with all the running around that had to happen on ground. So I have her, and then we have our housekeepers. That's basically it. We've talked about getting a handyman. We don't have one to say like on the team, but when we've needed one, we've looked around and hired for the job.
So you look on apps like, Handy or
Thumbtack.
Thumbtack.
Yeah.
Thumbtack, yeah. Thumbtack is just such a great resource. We use Thumbtack. You can find almost any skilled worker on Thumbtack. So it's definitely a resource we use as well.
Okay.
So that's awesome. So your assistant is your boots on the ground, essentially, a
Yeah.
local person.
Yeah. Yeah. So like she helps like because initially I wasn't, it was really kind of unclear what the quality of the cleaners, was like. So I basically had her as like my go behind. Just they clean, go check, see if it's okay. And sometimes she caught things, sometimes, it'll be fine. It was fine. But I think right now we've gotten a good crop of cleaners. So I
Awesome.
mean, still have her with me though.
Awesome. Yeah, I put a fancy label to that. I call it my white glove inspectors.
Yep.
I love your
Basically.
go behind. I love
Yep.
it. Okay, we have a question from Jane Harris. Hi, Jane. On average, how much can one expect to spend to fully furnish a 1-1 unit?
The last ones we furnished came to somewhere around 7,500. Sorry, not the last ones, the ones before the last ones. I usually mention that my sister was able to furnish us for 4,500. And after she
Girl,
did
after
that,
my heart.
I was like, girl, you are furnishing my units. How about that? But yeah, I think on average, 7,500 to 10,000, depending on the size of the unit and how many beds, how many people you want to sleep in it.
Awesome. Awesome. Question from Arjumand. Hi, Arjumand. Do you get different insurance for the rentals? Do you get different insurance for the rentals?
Yeah, we use proper
Okay. Proper insurance. Arjumand.
insurance.
Annabelle has a question. What's the name you mentioned? Ring doorbell and what else? Ring doorbell and what else?
Electronic locks.
An electronic lock. So there are several of them, Annabelle. There's Schlage, that's SCHLAGE. There's Quickset. There are several electronic
We use
locks.
August.
August is a really good one. Yeah. August.
Basically, for remote management, anything that connects to Wi-Fi, not just Bluetooth. That was the first lesson that I learned. That Bluetooth is not enough because you have to actually be there to change the code. But if you have a Wi-Fi or a bridge connection to the lock, then you can change things from anywhere.
And that's going to be really important if you're looking into managing remotely. So for example, every time that the code needs to get locked, you can do it from whatever location you're in.
Yeah.
So that's excellent. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Okay, that's all for now. Yeah. So can we talk a little bit about regulations? Are there regulations in your area that you would be concerned about?
Oh, yeah. Before you do anything, really with any short-term rentals, that's the first thing you want to check out. I know they had conversations in Dallas recently, but I know the last time that I looked, I was fine. so I carried on. But really anywhere, like before you do any, and I think they're always in flux. So that's another pro for arbitrage, because can't imagine after spending $60,000, $600,000 to now hear that things have changed. But yeah, always check the ordinances. Yeah, and that's something I was on a call a little bit earlier today, and the premise was, and thank you, Jesse, for holding that space in that room. Is it too late to Airbnb? Is it too late to get in? And that was the question, because some people are asking, is it saturated? Is it too late? And honestly, I read an article where the hotel industry by the end of 2021 will be down, I want to say 120 billion, right? And people don't want to be in a hotel. No offense, hotel. They want to be in a short-term rental. They want a full kitchen. They want to be a little bit separated. They don't necessarily want to share an elevator with a whole bunch of people. They want to be, in a more private space. And so with that being said, the hotel occupancy taxes, all that money that the hotel would bring in from business travelers or other types of travelers, that's going to take a dip. Yeah. And the municipalities are going to be hurting and the cities are going to be hurting. But if you look at your Airbnb line items, and when you see that occupancy tax and this tax and that tax, that city is getting paid, okay? So it would behoove all of them to ultimately open it up.
Yeah, open it up and create fair regulations around it, right? Unfair. I don't mind regulations. I'm all about regulations, but it needs to be fair regulations, not just blanket bans. That would be silly, right? Because you need the funding. So I don't think short-term rentals are going anywhere anytime soon. It's all about positioning yourself to get in the game, whether your budget is to buy or your budget is to arbitrage, or your budget is to. My third way of hosting is partnering with someone and learning the skills and, being an assistant and co-hosting until you can get it under your belt to, kind of strategically move around. And that is my next play. I think I have learned now. Yeah. And so that's definitely a great play, because here's what's great about that play. It's you don't have too much skin in the game, if any at all, right? Not much at all. So I'm absolutely loving it. Guys, thank you so much for all the amazing questions. I want to make sure we're open for your last few questions before we start talking about our amazing STRCon that Dr. Chiagozi has coming up for us. Yeah. I'm afraid to, okay, yeah, Vali has another question.
Mhm.
Oh, this is a good one. Yes, Vali. Do you have neighbor complaints from the short-term rental, from the long-term residents in the building?
So I actually have the opposite problem because I I have had guest complaints from the from the long-term residents in the building.
To me. Oh my God.
I had, thankfully, that guest was actually very understanding. She was like, "Yeah, I know you don't pick your neighbors." I was like, thank God you understand that I don't pick my neighbors. But I like so far, we've had one incident where the neighbor came up to our unit because our guests were being loud. And at that time, I hadn't installed my noise monitor. But after that incident, I knew I had to step on it and, basically get my act together. We woke up in the morning and my husband was like, "Yeah, check the Ring doorbell. I think that the neighbor complained." So I basically told the guests, like, you cannot be noisy in the middle of the night enough to get a neighbor all the way up. But thankfully, really not much came of that. But it's a matter of, screening your guests and trying to limit the potential for parties. Parties are the big thing. Parties or loud guests. And I think having an either noise aware or minute monitor, something that helps with like noise monitoring, will alert you before it becomes a problem for your neighbors.
Absolutely. And something that we add as far as being redundant is in our rules. Oh my goodness. Even
Oh yeah.
before you book, we talk about noise and neighbors maybe 5 times, because I read somewhere that people need to see it 5 times to get it. So we harped on it, we harped on it, we harped on it. Not to the I want to say not to the point where it's like don't even come,
Mhm.
but it makes it very clear if you are even thinking of a party,
Don't.
this will be like the worst place for you to try to have a party. Like you're just wasting money at this point, because the fines are steep.
Mhm.
There's so like there's monitoring. There's like this would ruin your party. This would be a great way to ruin your life and your party, you know? So don't even think about it. But if you're coming here to relax, you'll look over those and go, whatever, that's not me,
Mhm.
right? You're not
Mhm.
even worried
Mhm.
about it. But if you're coming for a party, you're gonna feel really like, oh no, she's too much, you know?
Mhm.
So putting in rules can really deter and help to kind of eliminate guests, right?
Do you
And
have a
spread
minimum
them
stay for
out.
the weekends?
I don't like, no, I
Okay.
don't for our properties. We used to have like a 4 night minimum for over the weekends, no check-ins on Friday or
Sunday.
no check-ins on Saturday, something like that. But we've been pretty okay,
Good.
honestly. Honestly, it's not, there was a young lady who was from the country and she asked, "Do you guys have any lounges around here?" I'm like, "No." I had never heard that terminology really in the modern days. I was like, no, there's no lounges here. Like literally, it's one of those places where it's dead.
Dead.
It's not the big city. It's not the big city. So do not, if you're coming to hike, come on, let's go hiking. That's as rowdy as you're getting, is to go for a hike. So we've tweaked it a bit because we've had really really good guests, and it was weird because one of our guests did complain about the neighbor that was up arguing with his girlfriend till 4 in the morning. It's like, seriously. It is what it is. Okay, so I'm looking for questions. We've got another. Hi, Deanna. Okay, question. Do you keep a storage space for inventory?
Yeah. Um, yeah, we have bins. Our units didn't, at least the first few, they didn't come with like an actual space for like a storage closet, so we just got bins. I think she also had a question before that one. She was asking if you've ever had problems with the owner entering after his lease with complaints.
Ooh.
No. Well, so far all of our units have been apartment complexes, so they haven't entered without our permission. The only times they've ever come are, when we've actually had like maintenance issues. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. And if there are maintenance issues, they would, at least alert us ahead of
Mhm.
time, right?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
pet friendly? Are your units pet friendly?
Initially, I said no, but then I was going to in one of them, and then I remembered that the building actually said no. So right now it's all no.
Gotcha. If the building said no. And so if you do find a building, you decide to go into it. I've got a whole bunch of pet rules that I'm
Mm,
happy to share with you.
yeah,
And
please.
they need to get topical treated 3 days prior to their stay. I mean, it gets, yeah,
Nice. Okay.
because the flea infestation is real. Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I just got itchy just hearing that.
It's real. Yes. So our rules, they're not there for nothing. They're not there for nothing. So awesome. Any other questions, guys? Oh my gosh, this has been so incredible. Let's see
Yeah,
who
definitely had a lot of fun.
on here.
Think you got him.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, great. So tell us, Dr. Chiagozi, I know we have an amazing event that has launched and it is going on. It is live right now, right?
It will be live October 7th through 9th, the actual sessions, but
Nice.
the registration is currently open, and it is the Short-Term Revolution Conference. So basically, how was this born? I looked around and I noticed that a lot of physicians and hiring professionals are turning to short-term rentals as a way to generate meaningful revenue, as well as significant tax savings, even without having to qualify for real estate professional status. That last piece is the key there. And after, I mean, I had started my arbitrage, without really caring about what people were doing buying. And after I listened, I was like, wait a minute, people are not talking enough about the gem in short-term rentals. So basically put it out there and invited a good number of speakers. When I tell you the wealth of resources that you will find in this conference are unbelievable. Obviously, you are on there with your crazy story of a 250K month in June. What's his name? Coach Cav is also on there, 125 plus short-term rentals that he's managing. Not to mention someone that got started recently. He opened the unit, I think, in December, but he didn't actually start getting a lot of bookings until March. Between March and now we're in September, 6 months, 130K, one property. And I'm like, we don't talk about why are we talking about that, all these other things when we could be talking about things to put money in each other's pockets? I mean, come on, guys, why are you keeping all these things to yourself? Okay, so crazy stories. I mean, people that started last year already with 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like the 6th one on the way. I'm like, yo. So yes, STRCon 2021.com. That's how you get on the, actually, why am I even saying that? Get Rachel's link.
Get my link.
Get Rachel's link. Rachel has her own special link. Just get it. Find it in the comments, find it on the group. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be wild.
Fantastic. And what you did was you made it accessible to everyone because I don't think there's a cost to.
Oh no, it's free. It's free.
Guys, seriously.
Now, if you want the recordings, you can purchase the recordings because you may want to refer to that, but it will be 3 months of access. If you want to really go back and rewatch and digest the things that you may miss while, someone in clinic was taking too long. So yeah, you may want the recordings, but to attend, it's free. You can definitely be in the room for free.
And I think that's excellent. Oh my goodness, you've made it accessible to everyone.
Excuse. You wouldn't say you didn't know, so that the next time you say they don't pay me enough, there'll be my voice in your head saying, but you attended the short-term rental conference.
Absolutely, for free. Guys, do not miss this gift. This is a huge gift that Dr. Chiagozi is imparting upon us. And it was such a pleasure to be a part of it. But when I looked at the lineup, I recognized so many of the names, and there are others that I did not recognize. And I said, oh my gosh, I want to hear the stories of those that I do recognize, and I want to meet those that I don't, and just see what their journey is like and what their story is like, in order that I can participate and just glean from their wisdom and glean from their journey. So I am super, super stoked about it. Oh my gosh, this is excellent. I cannot wait. See, say that link again. Okay, I'm gonna send. Hi, Michael.
Oh, Jane is asking, where is the conference? It's virtual.
Yes.
It's completely virtual. So once Rachel posts her link, and if she doesn't, I'm gonna get hers. You just go on there and register. It's free. It'll take you less than 20 seconds. Register, and then you'll be in, and you get access to the Facebook group.
Oh
but
my
everything
God.
goes live October 7th through 9th.
Oh, that's fantastic. So there's a Facebook group, a
Yes.
Facebook group with it
Yeah.
as well. Oh my gosh, that's going to be awesome. And then we can converse. Are all of the speakers going to be a part of the Facebook group too?
Yep. I'm going to give everyone access.
So you guys have access to the VIPs that are going to be delivering for the STRCon 2021. Yep. It's one of those do not miss.
Seriously.
Not miss this, guys. Oh my gosh, I am super stoked. And I know we're at the top of the hour. I did want to share with you guys, I do have one last masterclass coming up this Saturday where I am going to be talking about getting started. And
you better get on that masterclass if you want to get on any of Rachel's masterclasses.
What was that?
I said they better get on that masterclass.
I know. Oh my gosh. It's been just such a pleasure sharing, just my getting started tips for those who are interested in luxury short-term rentals. How to own and operate the fewest number of properties that generates the highest profitability. That's my tagline, and I'm sticking to it, guys. And so it's Saturday. You can message me, or if you click on the banner in our Facebook group, you'll have the link there. It's shorttermgems.com/free masterclass. Can't wait to see you guys there. Well, anything else, Dr. Chiagozi, before we let you go and get to your beautiful babies?
No, I'll just say, you know what, if you've sat through this, if you're on this group, if you've listened to this session, don't waste it. Take action, do something with the information that you're getting. Literally, people that started last October are cashing in right now. So don't waste this hour that you just spent listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Because next October, you're going to be looking back saying, what did you do with it? What did you do with the information? Awesome. Thank you. You
awesome. It's my pleasure.
Evening. I so appreciate you sharing with us, taking time out of your day to be with us tonight, Dr. Chiagozi. You have a good night.
You too.
Bye now.